Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Night One Shots. I am the founder of Gehenna Gaming, Ian E. Muller, otherwise known as Ravnos on the internet. And tonight, I will be sitting in the player seat, and we will have guest GM Rosie with us to run Fangs in Space, a Vampire the Masquerade V5 one shot where we're going to explore what happens when kindred go into the vast unknown, traveling beyond the stars or wherever we end up going. Who knows? Tonight we are also raising money in light of it being 9/11 here in the United States and what happened. What happened here uh, many years ago. At this point, we are raising money for Friends of Firefighters, which is a charity that supports mental health awareness and initiatives for firefighters and emergency services in New York City. So I will drop a link to that in chat in a moment, but you can see a lovely donation bar beneath Rosie's window here, and you will be able to that direction, haha, that direction. You will be able to contribute to that throughout the game, and that may affect what's happening in the game. We'll find out. But in the meantime, sit back and relax, and I will introduce our wonderful cast of players as well as our wonderful GM here in just a moment. I just wanted to make the donation point worked. Okay, so joining us this evening, I will be playing Norman, a perfectly normal, everyday Zamisi. And we also have with us Kitty Kimchi, as well as Zoe and Tyler, a friend from over at Vorpal Tales. But last but not least, Rosie, why don't you kick us off?
Hello, thank you for joining us tonight on Gehenna Gaming. I'm going to be launching Four Kindred into Space because I can. Tonight, it's the only thing I could really find written about vampires in space was in Guide to the Night, and that was sort of more a far off fluff type thing. What I'm interested in personally is how Kindred get to that point. So we're going to start at the beginning of that journey. We're going to start with Wentz Industries and its march forward and its desire to be the leader, as Ventrue always should be. Wentz is a enigmatic owner and leader of Wentz Industries, which has subsidiaries in just about everything in my own little world. And in particular, he is interested in being a forerunner in what he sees as the next move for Kindred, movement into space, because the year is 2030. So not now, a little bit far off. SI, the Second Inquisition, is still a massive problem. And they're getting smarter. They're scary in this reality that my game is taking place in, not bumbling. So that's sort of happening in the background, and Wentz is looking around trying to figure out where he can make some money, where he can test all his prototypes. And he realizes that it's about time that the undead go where no man has boldly gone before. So he works with his childer, Lucy, being portrayed by Zoe, and gathers a group of four kindred that will be going boldly forth on the Royal Pilgrim, which is a ship built for this specific purpose. All of the items on this ship are made by Wentz Industries and are prototypes designed specifically for this purpose. And we're going to open with our kindred gathered around, going over a sort of last briefing together before they enter a voluntary torpor on the Royal Pilgrim and shoot off and start their mission. So you're all in a large boardroom, beautiful executive sort of suite style, luxurious wood table, high back seats, beautiful view of whatever city you happen to be in. It doesn't really matter because you're not staying here very long. And Wentz is standing in front of you. He looks like the typical sort of silver fox Ventrue, suited, enigmatic, gesturing a lot. And he is discussing how we as kindred are hardier. We can go where no mortal man has gone before, and we can bring new knowledge and prove that we are indeed better suited to survival than your average man. It is our duty, our necessity, our right to bring this knowledge. What you do will be pivotal to the survival of our kind. Your, dare I say, sacrifice, should it come to that, your potential sacrifice will be written of for years to come in the annals of our kind. But I doubt it will come to that, because we are so much better than anyone that's ever been into space before. Kind of weak after all. You all know that there will be only the 4 of you on this vessel. There will be no kind to sully the magnificence of your mission. When you awaken among the stars, I don't want you to be stained by the blood of the innocents of any sort. So I have procured provisions for you in the form of freeze-dried and bagged blood, an experimental product of Wentz Industries that I myself have been surviving on for the last few months, just to make sure that it functions properly. So you should be able to survive on that quite well. And you will all be safe and cradled amongst the heavens. Your mission is an exploratory one, as I'm sure you know. We don't know much about what happens to kindred in space. So anything you learn will be useful in the end. And he steeples his hands, looks at all of you, and says, do you have any last questions, my bold adventurers?
I have certain requirements. As you may be aware, we are allowed to bring anything that we require with us on our trip, correct?
I'm going to need you to be a little more specific.
Just some personal possessions.
Oh, yes, that is fine. Once you are on the Royal Pilgrim, you will enter voluntary torpor, but there are quarters that would be private to all of you once you are awake and about performing your duties and collecting data. So any personal items you have, you can leave in those quarters.
Good, good. That was my only question. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Norman. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Long before we leave, because I really don't like people, and there's a lot of people in this city.
Well, you're in luck, because we're leaving right now if there's no further questions. And he rises and leads you through the door out into a very modern building. But Quinn, you're probably not paying attention to any of that, because there are an awful lot of people. You're very focused on Wentz's back, and you follow him to what fans of sci-fi would recognize as a space bay or a shuttle bay. And there's a large ship. In the classic sci-fi, there's normally a lot of windows, normally some kind of absurd bulbous deck that has an odd placement that I can't quite figure out. It seems a little odd. This is being what you are, you can't quite stop yourselves from drawing the similarities to a coffin. It is simple, oblong. It looks like there might be windows, but they're covered by some sort of shutter. You enter, and it looks like there's one main hall that leads down the center of the craft. And you've seen maps of the space before, but Wentz is still pointing out where the different rooms are as you go. Essentially, any room that you would hear commonly referred to on Star Trek, shout it out and I'll tell you where it is. But there's the there's 3 levels to the ship, really. There's the main deck where command, medical, those things are arranged along the corridor. The deck below is where your private quarters would be. The upper deck is kind of more ballast storage space, that sort of thing. But he's leading you to the torpor chamber, or as he calls it, the royal sleeping quarters, because you're on the royal pilgrim. And you move forward, and there's these upright tubes that you enter, and they sort of attach notes to different parts of it. Wentz is explaining that you will enter voluntary torpor, and the different stimuli being attached to you will awaken you should anything happen to the ship, or when you reach a place where you should collect data on your mission. And so, if there's no last questions or requests of Mr. Wentz, and no one resists entering torpor.
As Mr. Wentz starts to leave, Lucy just looks at him and says, "Thank you for giving us this opportunity, Mr. Wentz. We are not going to disappoint you, I assure you."
Oh, I know you won't, Lucy. And if you do, try to rest in the knowledge I'll never know, because you'll be dead.
Just a twitch of a smile on her face.
And he pats you on the cheek in what he feels is something fatherly, and leaves, so that all of you can enter torpor, and you are asleep as the royal pilgrim leaves orbit and shoots off into the stars. At this point, pretty much everything is automated. Part of what you're doing is demonstrating that kindred can do this, whereas people can't really. It's just not as feasible. You guys are hardier, you can enter torpor. There isn't a mechanism that needs to be sustained for you to survive while asleep. So you drift, and you do whatever people in torpor do. That's an excellent question and answer. I got a private message from somebody, and the answer is you will all wake up at the same time because of the chambers that you're in. You are meant to awaken together because you're here as comrades. You are here as a unit, as a team. To operate in any other function would be detrimental to the survival of the kindred race. So you slumber. I like to think that kindred and torpor dream, or are vaguely aware of what's happening around them, at least. Does anyone have any particular dreams or thoughts as they're traveling through space?
I'm pretty happy. It's quiet and peaceful, and I'm super alone.
You're literally the most alone you've ever been.
Yes.
I think Lucy dreams of the return to Earth, to wonderful accolades, of course, for a very successful and beneficial mission to all of kindred kind.
I stay as aware of what is happening, particularly my own physiology, as we travel, exit orbit.
All right. You're going to be in that state for quite a while, but you do remain aware, because you're in torpor. But it's voluntary, so you are aware of what's happening to you. You feel that sort of slowing of your body and your systems, and that that sort of consciousness right below the level. You're aware of yourself in the stasis chamber. You are aware of slumber. You are aware of the sort of larger movements of the ship, but nothing specific. Does Ara have anything that she dreams of?
Ara is curious as to what other beings there might be out there. Because of her clan, she wonders, is there anyone that will probably look like her? So she won't be so strange, so abnormal.
Very forward thinking, looking to meet new life. A diplomatic mission. I don't know if that crossed Wentz's mind. But if you do meet anyone, I'm sure that you're all up to the task of being the first diplomats of kindred kind from Earth to the stars. You drift, and eventually you're all jolted awake. I would like you all to make a resolve and awareness roll.
Are we all at 1 hunger?
Yes. Actually, you were at 0 hunger because of the way you've been held in stasis.
Oh.
Three successes. 5. How did Quinn do? All right. You guys only needed 1, but essentially you were rolling to see if you would awaken incredibly disoriented. You're jolted awake by the sort of nodes attached to you. It feels like an electrical shock. And you come out of your chambers and there's a sort of siren going, and the ship is telling you that there's been a breach on hull sector 5. What do you do?
That seems bad.
Do we recall what was in Sector 5? Like what the area was used for?
Do you? You can make, all of you or any of you can make a roll for me of, let's just go intelligence academic to see if you studied the ship plans. Four, 2, 3. All right. Quinn, Norman, and Ara have got it, but Lucy, Wentz would be so disappointed that you didn't pay more attention to his notes.
Yes, well, that is why we have the other kindred here.
Our other 3 kindred remember that that particular section is one of the upper portions of the hull. If you think about orientation as the lower deck, the middle deck where you currently are, and the upper deck where the ballast is, sort of where different items are stored for your mission. It's more towards what you might think of as the front of the ship. So in theory, you're not in immediate danger, but it's definitely something that you should look into. It was something that tripped enough of the ship's sensors and alarms to wake you from torpor.
I'm the engineer. I'm going to go check it out.
I will accompany you.
Yes, I will also join you to make sure that nothing has gone terribly wrong.
Ditto.
Okay, all 4 of our kindred. Where are you going exactly?
I need to stop and grab a piece of equipment from my personal quarters just to make sure it'll be useful if we need it. And I'm gonna start walking that way.
We've established that you looked at the schematics of the ship, so you have no problem navigating. And from this point forward, I'm just going to assume that the 3 kindred that passed the roll know where they are on the ship. I won't make you make that roll again. Lucy will have to make it maybe once or twice more.
That makes sense.
And then when I get to my quarters, all I brought with me was a black duffel bag. I open it and pull a leather like briefcase size soft briefcase there from it, and just grab it and then meet back up with the other ones.
Okay, and where have our other kindred gone? How are you going about this?
I don't want to go to where the breach is. I want to go to wherever it is that it would have automatically sealed off the breach from. Wherever the controls are that would lock down that section.
Okay, so you go to like the sort of command bridge area first, and it's in the middle of the ship. The
Okay.
middle of that deck, sort of in a round room that you would have to walk through to get to any other portion of the ship. And you look around and you see the one monitor that's going a little crazy. It's got all the lights going. It's the one that seems to be operating whatever is causing the issue or making you aware of it. You can go over and look at it. I want you to tell me what you do.
How bad's the damage? That's what I want to know.
Let me look at your sheet.
Once I catch back up, I just hang back and I observe the 3 of them.
Okay. Please make me an intelligence and technology roll.
Four.
Okay. You are able to interpret from the data that you're seeing that there has been a breach, probably from some space debris. It looks like it just pulled apart some of the outer plates of the ship. So it should be a fairly simple matter to fix it, but someone is going to have to go out to repair the damage from the outside of the ship. You do know that there are supplies to do that sort of thing. There are spacesuits, there's welding equipment, there's whatever you might need, not far from where you currently are.
There are only 3 people in the ship, but there's 0 outside the ship. I'll go spacewalk.
I will accompany you at least to the airlock to assist in case you run into any distress.
Wonderful. Make it quick.
All right. Quinn and Norman. You go get your, well, at least Quinn gets his suit. Norman, do you grab a suit or anything like that, or do you just follow along?
I follow along. I'm going to make sure that, you know, the lifeline that's connected to him is good. I'm going to be monitored. I'm there in case there's an accident and he needs assistance. My role here is to observe how kindred physiology is affected by zero gravity in the climate of space. So I am here to make sure everyone is okay.
Very good. Okay. You get your suit on, you go to the breach and you take a look. And while you're navigating that way, I want to see what Lucy and Ara are doing as they wait for you.
Ara has a handheld device that she is checking the coordinates and she's trying to see when and where the breach happened.
I want you to make an intelligence technology roll to see how well you interpret the data.
You said intelligence and technology?
Yes, please.
Okay. Nine.
You know exactly when it happened. You know exactly where it happened. It happened very recently. You were woken almost immediately. So whatever hit the ship, it probably isn't far from where you currently are in space, but it's probably a bit of debris, not an issue. The ship hasn't been damaged for very long. And because you rolled so well, you notice where you are in your trajectory, and you're a little under halfway through the route that has been mapped out for you. So you're awake too early. I know you're all planning going back into torpor, but it is something that you would note and be aware of, given that you, even though you're currently at 0 hunger, you're all predators. You're all creatures that have that innate hunger and need. You're aware of it, even if it's not something you need to satiate immediately.
Are we still on track?
You have not been knocked off course.
I say to Lucy, we're just under halfway there.
Excellent. And we are still on course.
We are.
Perfect.
Should we check on and assist the others?
I suppose we should. Lucy is going to take out a small notebook that she has like in the pocket of her blazer that she made sure to keep on her, and is writing down notes. Just writing notes about how everyone is responding to this small emergency.
Excellent. All right, Quinn, Norman, you have made your way to the appropriate airlock. Norman, I'm just going to call you the spaceship janitor because you seem to sort of be the catch-all repairman, custodian. So you get your suit on and you know exactly what you're doing somehow. I'm going to chalk it up to you being a Malkavian. And you prepared a spacewalk. I would like you to describe that to me, please, what you do.
I maintain a perfect 3-foot distance from Norman at all times, regardless of how that messes up my ability to get in the suit. I probably donned the suit wrong the first time because I've never done that before. Then I figure it out. I look at the welding torch. I look at Norman. I have no idea how this works. This will be fine. Let's go.
I believe that you are supposed to attach one of those lines to your suit, and it attaches to the side of the ship. Let's make sure, in case you become unattached, you can't float off into space. Please make sure you do that when you step out. I will be here monitoring the situation the entire time.
Thank you. I'll contemplate not hooking on because space is very empty, but then I will hook onto the side of the ship because there's no food in space.
Yep. Gotta love teamwork. All right. Lucy, Ara, I'm going to say that you arrive after Quinn has exited the airlock. And I I have a personal thought and question about being a Malkavian in space.
Yes.
Can you access the Madness Network?
The logical answer is probably not, but the Tyler in me says it's probably stronger in space because we're closer to the ultimate source of cosmic chaos.
Yeah, my thought process is probably no, but I do hope that your Malkavian checks as you begin to disembark and disengage from the few humans around you.
I
You are-
would.
yeah. And you are really truly alone. You're separated from the only 3 other individuals by the hull of a spaceship, and it's just you out here. It's quiet.
I just kind of spin for a minute until I decide to orient myself on the ship so I know which way is down. And then I'll head towards the damage.
Excellent. It's not a long walk, but it is long enough for Ara and Lucy to find Norman and share the information that Ara has about when the breach occurred and that sort of thing, if you decide to do so. Do you share that information?
Yes, I fill them in on everything that I was just told.
The good news is we are still on course. How is Quinn faring out there? I trust he's not having too many issues.
Oh no, he's doing fantastic.
Perfect. Glad to hear it.
Is he dancing out there?
He appears to be enjoying his time alone.
Can he hear us through the hull?
No,
So it'd be useless to inform him that he's wasting precious time.
there are comms.
There are comms,
It's
Lucy.
very obvious my end is switched off.
I don't think Lucy can tell. I think she still activates her comm. It says, Quinn, cease dancing and fix the problem.
Nothing changes.
Quinn.
I believe that he has switched his communication device off.
Lucy makes a note.
Is he moonwalking?
As I said, I believe that Mr. Adler is enjoying his time alone.
Lucy sighs very heavily.
Miss Valentine, is protocol that we should resume torpor once this incident is taken care of?
Yes, as soon as possible.
I believe that, according to my personal directions, I should collect samples of everyone's vitae before we do so.
Is this something Mr. Wentz told me about?
No, but honestly, it makes sense. The point of your mission is to collect data on everything, and you're not the biologist.
Okay. Certainly. We should do that now so we don't waste time. And then once Mr. Adler is back in, you can collect his vitae, and then we can resume torpor.
I immediately set the leather briefcase down, open it, and pull an IV blood extraction kit out and an IV set. You notice other medical equipment inside the satchel.
Out of game, I am
Sus it all.
squinting very hard. It is just all squinting here.
I brought my medical equipment in case there was an incident that we needed to do any, let's call it mechanical repairs to the body, since we don't know how our physiology will react to the environment.
That was good thinking ahead.
Now, your arm, please.
Lucy extends her arm.
And I will extract a full rouse point of blood.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Please mark that on your sheet.
And he packs that up in essentially a blood bag, but it's one that's designed for space. It's used for holding fluids.
Mhm.
Carefully places it back inside and turns to Ara. Miss Ara, I believe.
Mm. And you need this from all of us.
Yes, I'm here to study how the effects of zero gravity and the radiation in space, as well as the environment itself, affects our physiology to see how hospitable it is to kindred.
I see.
And
Okay.
the early rousing from torpor is an excellent opportunity to begin those tests.
I extend my arm.
And I do the same and extract a full rouse point of blood.
Do we mark anything on our sheets?
You should get
Is that-
hungrier by one.
You should,
Hungry?
yes.
Okay.
I apologize. You should mark that point of hunger.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I label it, package it, place it carefully in the satchel, close everything up, and wait for, and then resume just standing there waiting for Quinn to return.
All right. Quinn. You still moonwalking?
I'm probably actually going to fix the ship now.
Okay. You reach the breach. It's maybe 10 feet long, but it just looks like the way I think of it is when you see a bit of fabric kind of rip a little at the seam. It's just that. It's a long sort of movement, but very slight. So it should be fairly simple repair. But I do, since you haven't done this before, I do want to rolls. Well, they're going to be the same roll, but I want it twice to make sure you do it correctly multiple times. We're going to do craft and dexterity, please. Because you're operating a torch in space and you don't want it to drift off anywhere.
3 on the first one
Okay.
and 1 on the second.
Oh. Okay. Well, the first is successful. And on the second one, you sort of slip a little bit holding the torch and it starts to drift away from you. You could kick off from the ship knowing you're tethered and try to grab it. Or you can watch it drift alone off into space and wish you could join it.
It's going to be the second one.
All right.
I'm sure that's good enough that well. This is fine.
All right.
I'll turn the comms on and report the breach is fully repaired and head back.
Norman, please make your extraction quick so we can get back on task.
Absolutely, and then I'll just have to store everything in the med bay.
Quickly.
When I get back in and he tells me what he needs, I'm like, that would mean you'd have to touch me, yes?
In ideal practice, yes. However, I could show you how to do it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Excellent, and I will demonstrate exactly how to insert the needle and extract run the machine that extracts the vitae and packages it. And I will step back 3 feet, as I noted earlier. He preferred. Thank you, Mr. Adler.
I like you.
Thank you.
All right.
And increase your hunger by 1. And once I have that packaged, I label it and I collect my things and I say, I will meet you all in the sleeping chamber. And I will toddle off.
Lucy waves for someone who is more familiar with the ship to lead the way back to the sleeping chamber.
And I would like to activate Unseen Passage and follow Norman.
Okay. I don't believe you need a roll for that.
Just a rouse check.
There you go. So roll 1d10 for me. You know how to play vampire.
I pass.
Perfect. You have activated Unseen Passage. What do you do with your power?
I'm following behind Norman. Just kind of observing to see exactly what he does with those bags and if they really were necessary.
Well, once I arrive at the med bay, Norman sets everything down and actually goes around and inspects the room quickly. Just making sure all the equipment that he asked would be brought on board is there, make sure everything's packaged, nothing broke in transit so far, all of that. Just doing a once-over on all the equipment. And then he pulls the 3 bags of blood that he extracted out and goes over to a cold storage container and places them inside, carefully locks it with a pin pad. Does another quick glance over, collects his gear, and the bag that he had with him, he just stows in that room from there, and then turns around and heads back.
Norman, as you're doing that, I would like you to make me a, what is it called in this system? Notice isn't a thing. Awareness and wits.
That would be 2.
Everything looks fine.
Okay. Just double checking, and then like nothing that I requested was left off the list. All of the equipment I wanted is here. Okay. Everything seems in order, and I just turn around and walk back.
Aro, what do you do at this point?
As I see him walking towards the door or whatever it is, I quickly turn and kind of power walk my way out so he doesn't bump into me.
Good. And what are Quinn and Lucy doing?
So did we make it back and then just realize that Ara wasn't with us?
Were you looking for Ara?
I think Lucy would notice if someone disappeared. She's trying to make sure that everyone is on schedule.
Then yes, you are curious about where Ara is.
She'll look at Quinn. Did you see where Ara went?
Nope.
Lucy makes a note. I
Maybe
don't want
she
to have
went
to
to
go.
the bathroom.
I don't want to have to go looking for her if she doesn't show up soon. She better not have gotten lost.
I'm assuming
Actually-
this place has cameras, right? We could probably just like turn on a screen and look at all the rooms.
Probably.
I'll do that.
Good.
All right, so Quinn, you're going back to the command center.
Command module, I assume, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, there's a lovely old big bank of monitors, exactly like you would expect in every single space movie ever. And you plunk yourself down, and what do you think you should do to activate this technology?
Where's the on button?
There's a large green button and a large red button within arm's reach.
Definitely green.
You hit the green button, cameras flash on, and it's a sophisticated system. There's a camera for every room or area. There's everything is time stamped, and it's a constant running loop. So even while you've been in torpor, there has been recording occurring of the ship.
Oh, did it record the breach?
Do you check?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything weird about it?
I want you to make that same roll for me, wits and awareness, as you're watching the footage.
Can I also make that check?
If you're also watching the footage, yes.
I got 3 10s on that roll.
I probably don't need to make it, but I'll make it anyway. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 successes.
All right. You guys are both watching because you're curious. And what you see is a sort of, it looks almost like a drop of blood or a bit of jelly that falls off a bit of toast. A little more gelatinous than a simple drop of blood, sort of slip its way into that rift that was created by the breach. And it moves like on the metal of the hull, like a slug on the inside, and sort of moves its way down out of frame. And you can keep watching it on the cameras until it sort of vanishes into a wall somehow. Like, you know how cockroaches or some bugs can flatten themselves and squeeze into very tight, small spaces. You watch this blob that is about the size of my cat, Theodore. If you haven't seen a picture of Theodore, he's a 20-pound cat.
Monkey.
Chunky, big boy. So you sort of see it moving like a slug and then slipping its way into one of the walls of the ship, at which point it is no longer on camera view.
Just stare at the screen for a minute, and then I look at Lucy. Well, that was weird.
Yes, that was concerning. We should figure out what that was before returning to torpor.
At that point, I'm behind Quinn and Lucy, and I don't have unseen passage activated. What was that?
Oh,
I slide
Where-
away from you on instinct.
Lucy definitely jumps a little bit. Where have you been?
I had to go to the bathroom.
See? Where's Norman? He probably knows about weird space blobs.
He's probably headed back towards the
He's
torpor
the scientist,
chamber.
right?
Yes. Lucy activates her comm link to Norman. It says, Norman, come to the command center instead of the torpor chamber.
Of course, I'll be right there. And I walk that direction.
Are we sure the blob wasn't him? He is one of those, what do you call them, right?
That seems
Pretty
unlikely
likely,
because
yeah.
we were all asleep. Or not asleep, we were all in torpor. And we all woke up at the same time.
Did anyone bring pets?
Lucy looks between R and Quinn. There better not have been any pets brought aboard.
Sadly, I was not allowed to bring any of my assistants, I say as I walk into the room. It could have been
Norman,
indispensable.
Replay the blob for him.
Hmm? And I will watch whatever is played for me.
You see the same footage. Once they point it out to you, it's very easy to spot. And you wonder how anyone could have possibly missed it or how it may have gotten into that wall, but I imagine this is of particular interest to you given your profession.
How does it move? You said slug-like. Is it kind of like it undulates its body to propel forward?
Much in the same way that like an anemone does on the bottom of the sea.
So it could theoretically be more of a viscous liquid rather than like a solid matter. So it could change its shape to slide through some of the seams.
That is a
And
fair
hull.
assessment.
Okay. Fascinating. What does it like? What does it look like? Like color? Does it look like flesh? Does it look like something I'm familiar? Like, what's an analogy that I can use?
Color wise, it looks like a dark crimson red, like a strawberry jelly or a drop of blood after it's coagulated a bit.
Which I would be very familiar with. Quite interesting. It almost looks like Vitae. Can you play back further? Or well, just refresh my memory rather. When I was shown the recording, it comes to the ship when the tear happens and gets through the tear, or like when does it appear on the cameras?
The cameras are on the inside of the ship, so you would know looking at the data that the blob enters the ship shortly after the tear occurs.
Okay.
Like very close.
Interesting. I would like to go see the spot where it vanished into the wall. And I turn around and start leaving to go to that spot based on where the camera was showing.
I'll follow because this is interesting.
Yeah, Lucy follows behind him.
Thank.
All right. You head up to look at that portion of the inner hall. So you go up, it's space, so it's all relative, but you go up to the sort of ballast area. Three of you know the ship fairly well, and you go towards that section of hull and you look up. You would need to look at that portion of wall closely. You would have to figure out a way to get up to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'd do so.
How do you do that?
I turn to Lucy. Miss Valentine, what would be the most appropriate way to go about this?
Oh, I'm certain that there is a ladder of some kind that we can use to. I guess there's artificial gravity.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
If there was not, this would be a very different game
Yes.
now.
I was just thinking about that.
Can I make a roll while Lucy is talking? Resolve an insight.
Yes.
See if Lucy is bullshitting, not knowing anything about the ship.
You may make the roll, and Lucy, you can attempt to contest if you like.
What am I contesting with?
Ian, what did you say your character is rolling with? Resolve and
insight. I'm body language. Basically, does Lucy know what she is talking about?
All right, Lucy, if you want to counter that, you can counter with manipulation and leadership.
Perfect. Command probably doesn't help with me here. Or it could be because I'm trying.
I would say that yes, you are trying to assert dominance in the situation.
Great. Ooh. Hold on. Okay.
Is it okay that while they are doing that, can I make a roll to see if I see anything that like a button or something I can activate for anti-gravity?
You can make a wits and awareness to see if you notice anything or if you can find what you're looking for.
I had 4 successes.
And Norman, what did you
At
have?
8.
Dang.
Lucy,
Dang.
answer the command's question.
No. It's
Okay.
not what she's here for.
Okay. Continue. He doesn't
All right.
react in any way. He's just observed. He's
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So they're having that discussion. Lucy is trying to sound authoritative. Ara, go on.
She knows stuff about how the ship works, but as far as like where things are located, like that sort of thing, she's not going to be much help.
All right. Ara, you're looking around and there's not a anti-grav button near you. That would be a centralized thing that would occur in the command center. It's not sectional. It's something that would have to be regulated from the command portion of the ship. But you rolled very well. And you smell something. Do you remember what molasses smelled like when you were alive? How rich and sweet.
I smell something. And then I kind of side eye and look at Quinn.
Does it smell like burning ozone? Because that would be bad.
It's sweet.
Sweet.
And I would like to see if I can smell it.
Once it's pointed out to you, yes, you can all smell. As I said, it smells very rich and sweet. In the same way that Vitae is intoxicating, like you need it. It smells like if there was a way to make blood candy, that little bit of extra yum to it. It smells like that.
Someone bring an oil burner.
Fascinating. Based on me having kind of poured over the maps of the ship and knowing what the layout is roughly, do I know where a ladder would be to get up to the next area?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to turn and start walking that direction.
I'll go. I like candy.
Cool.
Yeah, Lucy's gonna stay with them. Lucy's gonna keep following.
All right. So Norman, are you looking for a way to get up and examine that portion of wall, or are you attempting to follow this sweet smell?
I'm still going to examine the wall and start with keeping that route. I'm getting a ladder.
Once you're looking for it, you find it from the schematics of the ship. You have a notion of where something might be stored.
Okay.
Like that. And you lean it up and you climb and you get to that portion of wall and you see a dark red viscous substance, like dried glue almost, but it's not stationary. It looks like it's slowly still beating its way through the
seam in the wall.
Yes.
I'm going to pull a vial, what's a specimen vial, out of one of the pockets in my jumpsuit.
Mhm.
And then pull a scalpel out.
Okay.
And I'm going to scrape some of it into the specimen vial, if I can.
You're
using the
going to
scalpel.
attempt to do that.
Yes.
However, your scalpel sticks to it. It will not come free. It is a tacky substance, and I would like you to describe to me exactly how you attempt to use your scalpel for this.
So I was going to be using the sharp part of the scalpel to simply scrape off just a little bit of it and then like scrape it into the specimen vial and then reseal it. So just like literally cutting into it a little bit.
When you do that, one, your scalpel does not come free as you attempt to pull it back. Also, the bit of blob sort of, it almost looks like it panics or suddenly becomes a little more aware of you, like it was wah! And like finishes pulling itself quickly back through the wall, at which point your scalpel can't follow it, so it ends up kind of wedged into that seam by the point.
Curious. Also, while all this is happening, if I may, I'd like to inhale through my nose and see if this is the source of the smell.
Oh, hell yeah. This smells amazing.
The audience thinks you should lick it.
I noticed. No. Straight up no. Wait, fascinating. I'm going to try to free the scalpel.
From the wall?
Yes.
That's fairly simple. There's nothing holding it but the seam of the wall.
Okay, so just pop.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the scalpel in the specimen jar.
Okay.
And seal it.
What's happening?
I'm going to climb back down the ladder. I hold the specimen jar in my hand. I don't put it back in my pocket. There appeared to be some residue on the side of the hull here, and when I attempted to collect some of it, it reacted. And he says all of this completely deadpan. The substance appeared to react to my attempt to collect some of it and continued more quickly to seep through the seam in the metal, and I point at the seam right here. Also, it appeared to be some sort of viscous liquid that was incredibly tacky, and the scalpel stuck to it. So, interesting to note. I will need to make a few notations before we resume torpor, should that be our plan. Also, it was the source of the smell that we observed.
You sense the unseen. Can I track it through the wall?
I have to look at the text for that. Like, how specific is it worded?
And then I'm actually going to step away from them, like 5-10 feet, and pull a voice recorder, a digital voice recorder out of my pocket and take notes. Basically everything I just said.
The entire time, Ara's been fooling with her handheld device, and she realizes she can access the control center through it. And she goes, "Oh, anti-gravity," and then she presses it right then.
Yep, everything, the gravity turns off everywhere. Everything just sort of starts lifting up slowly, dramatically, gloriously. You're flying somehow. Very
Except-
suddenly.
Can we
Alright.
say, since I never specified I took my suit off, the gravity boots kick in?
I'll go with yes.
I just watch you float up in the air.
Quinn, reactivate the gravity.
Isn't it? You did it in a handheld device, right?
Oh, right. Sorry.
It's floating with you through the air. I say, okay, and I start walking towards the command center.
That's when I turn it off.
Y'all just hit.
I
You
would
could-
like roll dex in athletics to not land on my face. Which,
Okay, you could all make that roll if you think to.
Oh God.
You're going to need 2 to succeed.
I rolled 2 dice. I got 2 successes.
Pardon me, Miss Ara. I would appreciate it if you would warn us ahead of time if you were going to do that again.
Or not. That was entertaining.
I got 0, so I'm gonna assume I landed right on top of Lucy.
I'm good with that.
I mean, Lucy landed on her feet.
Until Aura landed on top of you. And then you're
Lucy-
both on the floor.
Lucy very angrily pushes Aura off of her and stands up and like brushes herself off. Absolutely do not do that again.
That we were trying to find a way to get up there.
That
We
would
had
be
the ladder.
potentially be very useful in the future.
And Quinn, the answer to your question is yes, but I'm going to need you to roll fairly well
Okay.
to really track it.
Use resolve, or I mean wits, because it's a bigger pool. Ooh, 4 successes.
And while he's doing that, I would have immediately taken interest in how everyone was reacting to being in 0 gravity.
Okay.
Do I need to make a roll for anything to see if anything unusual happened to them or myself?
Oh.
That would include my own physiology.
You're being of your clan, I'm going to say that you are keenly aware of your own personal physiology.
Yes.
So
Intensely.
you know everything that happened to you during that experience.
Okay. That's good enough.
Cool.
Anything unusual? Or anything unexpected, I should ask.
Oh, anything unexpected? Nothing in particular, really.
Okay.
It's exactly as you would expect a corpse to act in 0G.
Perfect.
Was 4 enough? If not, I'll spend willpower to re-roll the dice.
It is not enough for you to know specifically
I'll
where
take
it
general.
is. Okay, because it is in the wall.
Right.
So you become attuned to dimensions beyond the mundane, allowing you to sense presence of otherwise hidden objects to the naked eye. So that word sense is letting me say you are aware of the general vicinity of this blob.
I'll inform the crew. It's over there somewhere.
Yeah.
Interesting. You are able to track it.
See a lot of things, yeah.
Can you track it more specifically?
Fantastic. I make a note of that, and I just start talking into my voice recorder.
There's a lot of
It would appear that Mr. Adler is able to track the substance as it has entered the walls.
There's a lot of energy in the wall, so I can't track it specifically, but I can tell you what room it's in.
That would be amazingly helpful.
I suppose that's good enough.
All right. You follow your sort of awareness of the blob, and you get back to the sort of main level. And there's a sort of commissary area that seems a little ridiculous given that it's just the 4 of you and you've just got bagged blood. But then there's also this awareness sort of off in the direction of the med bay. And any of you can make me a wits and awareness roll for more.
I got whopping 1.
You're just aware of those kind of
2 successes.
2 successes. Yes, Norman, you can make that particular roll if you like. 4. Aura, how did you do? 5. Okay, Norman. 4. That's still plenty. Lucy, you're just kind of focused on how this is ruining the timeline. But Norman and Aura, you notice that there's this kind of unsettling, I'm gonna call it like a red thread kind of going across the hallway, and it's pulsing just a little bit from one end to the other. Like there's little blips moving along this sort of, it looks like a bit of thread, or Norman, you might think of it more as a small tendon specimen or something along that line.
Interesting.
But it stretches from what looks like the commissary to the med bay.
Voice recorder. Make a note of that out loud and start walking, following it.
Which direction do you follow it in?
Towards the med bay.
Ara, what about you?
Same.
Lucy, Quinn, what about you guys?
Where are they going? That's to Lucy. They didn't say anything.
I did. I actually said
Oh.
I said exactly what I saw and what I was following
Okay.
into my voice
Yeah.
recorder, and you could all hear it.
I'm gonna follow you then.
Yeah, Lucy's following too, making her own notes in the notebook.
Can I ask what Lucy's notes are at this point?
Just everything that's been happening. Why everything, the tear that was made, everyone's response to the tear, Quinn's wasteful time in the void before getting around to fixing it, the slug-like thing that we have found, and the reasoning for needing to take care of that before re-entering torpor. Just making very precise notes so that when, time has to be accounted for, she has it on record.
This is the sort of thoroughness that Mr. Wentz prizes in you.
Yes.
All right. So, Norman, Ara, you're heading to the med bay. Quinn, Lucy, did you decide on which, if you're following them, if you're going towards the other end of this weird, creepy thread? I don't know if they pointed it out to you.
As I mentioned, I did
Excellent, thank you.
I said what it was, and just said what it, I was like, fascinating. It appears to be a trail, not unlike a tendon pulsing, leading from position to position. I'm going to follow it to the med bay and see where it leads.
So once he points it out, we can see the thread as well.
Mhm.
Right.
It's pretty creepy.
Lucy will look at Quinn and say, let's observe the other end while they go inspect the med bay. And that way we can cover more ground and get this finished quicker.
Okay. I try to grab it.
Okay. How do you go about that, please?
Just with my hand, I assume it's in the air.
No, it's along the floor.
Run my hand along the floor tile. Just to see if it's physical.
What do you touch it with?
My left hand.
With your bare skin.
Oh, yes. Well, I probably still have a glove on because I never took the suit all the way off. So whatever that is.
Okay. So there is a barrier between you and this thread then. It just kind of rolls a little bit under your hand. And sort of wiggles its way a little bit away from you. Like it's like, you know, a cat when it doesn't want to be pet, like it sort of does that odd little side shuffle.
I point that out to Lucy. That's weird.
That is very odd.
Are they still near me?
I said that very loudly.
Okay. Oh, did you attempt to touch it?
Yeah, watch. And I nudge it with a boot.
Yeah, it does the same sort of, you said nudge. This is gentle.
Yes.
Yeah, it does that sort of same roll away.
Fascinating. So interesting that you are perfectly fine coming in contact with whatever that is, but you prefer that we stay at least 3 feet away from you. I'll make a note of
That's
that
not
for
a
your
person.
file.
Whatever it is, it's not a person.
To be fair, we're not sure. Would you be willing to touch it with bare skin?
5 seconds of thought. Yes.
I would like to observe.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay. Ara, Lucy, what are the two of you doing?
Ara is standing back, looking at Quinn, just doing this.
This had better be productive. We do not have time to waste around with this.
Okay.
And I would like to activate awe to try to
Alright.
get people more on task.
Okay. I believe it's just a rouse check.
It's free, and I roll
Oh.
manipulation and presence versus composure and intelligence.
We
Is what
get-
I have in my notes.
We get composure intelligence rolls against it as a fellow kindred because we can recognize the effects of it. While that's happening, though, I will say, actually, Miss Valentine, I do believe that the physiological implications of this would be quite valuable to Mr. Wentz's research, and is in fact one of the things that I am here to observe.
I think Lucy was straightening her posture like she was about to activate all. And after hearing that, kind of relaxes a bit and says, very well. But again, quickly.
Yeah, you know that telltale sign all Ventrue have that they're getting ready to use some dominate. We all know they do it. All right. So, Lucy, Ara, you're standing there watching. Norman, you're watching more intently. Quinn, describe to me what you do, please.
Take off my left glove and try to pick it up off the floor.
All right. As soon as there's skin contact, the thread sort of recongeals. Like you can watch sort of it looks like you saw like little sort of blips of pulse. That becomes clear now that that's more like mass moving along the thread, because you see more mass coming in a larger sort of chunk from each side of the thread. It doesn't go away completely, but there's suddenly a good bit of it around your hand. And it's a very strange sensation. Have you ever stuck your hand into a bottle of Gorilla Glue?
Probably.
Then you know exactly what this feels like. Your hand is in something thick, tacky. You can't remove it from that, but this is even worse because you feel it sort of work its way into your pores, and you feel it begin to drink from you through your skin.
It feeds on blood. This is fascinating.
So, Mr. Adler has removed his left glove and is now attempting to touch or pick up the entity, and it has now recongealed, completely calm and composed through this entire ordeal. It is now reformed, wrapping itself around his hand, much like and Mr. Adler reports that it appears to be feeding from him, much like we feed from other creatures. What does the sensation feel like?
It's tickly.
Does it provide pleasure, much like our embrace does?
No,
Storyteller? No.
no.
Is
Can I activate rapid reflexes and kick that thing off his hand?
I mean, you can try, but at this point, this thing is built for survival. So Quinn, you have already lost 1 point of vitae. Please mark 1 point of hunger.
Got it.
So you attempt to I'm going to need you to make a dex and athletics roll to try to hit the blob somehow without hitting Quinn. How'd you do?
Bestial failure.
Oh my.
no.
Oh, yeah. So not only are you going to kick Quinn in the face, you're going to also manage to somehow flip yourself so you land face first on this thread, which then begins to congeal around your face again. And at this point, you just sort of, the individuals that are able to observe just sort of see like the rest of the mass that might have been in the med bay just sort of zooming along that thread and wrapping itself around Aura's face.
Okay. Lucy's gonna try
That's bad.
something.
Fascinating. I'm just documenting.
Lucy
And
is going to
observing.
activate off the fact that these things seem to also be drinking Vitae and hope that they can be influenced like other sentient creatures can, and is going to activate all again to try to draw these things' attention like off of them. She's just going to shout very loudly with her voice of Hardestat. Is that how you pronounce that?
That's how I
Hardest
say
stat.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, Hardestat. Her voice of Hardestat rings out amongst whatever cacophony is happening with this, and it just says stop, and it's directed towards the masses, but I'm not sure if it'll actually have any effect, but she's going to try it.
Which power are you attempting to
That's all again. Anyone in the presence of the vampire finds their attention inexplicably drawn to them. Those listening to the vampire speak might suddenly agree on subjects where they once held different viewpoints. While this power doesn't cause rapt infatuation, it is still strong enough to sway the minds of most mortals.
there is no change.
There's no change.
No. This might be a good point for us to take a short bio break. Give our players a chance to collect themselves. And we'll catch you guys in 5-10 minutes. We'll see you
5
soon.
minutes or so.
Yeah.
Before we jump off, just a reminder to everyone watching this show. We are raising money for Friends of Firefighters, which is a charity based in New York City, which raises funds for mental awareness and support and initiatives for firefighters and emergency responders in that city. So I will drop the link as we go to break. If you can help us raise money for such an amazing cause, that would be amazing. We appreciate it. But otherwise, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Yes, Quinn, please take another point of hunger. Ara, this thing is now wrapped around your face, and you are. It feels like it's probing, and you feel like someone has slathered a very thick, heavy glue over your face, maybe around part of your neck a bit. And it's very constricting. You don't have to breathe, but it's something that you do naturally. So as you breathe out, you feel it start to move in as you automatically attempt to breathe back in. You feel it start to move up your nostrils into your nasal cavity. And you feel that sort of gluey sensation working its way into your pores, and you begin to feel your vitae, the moisture that is keeping you alive, or as alive as you are, move out through your skin and into the vitae, and you feel this exact same thing happening the interior of your head, where the creature has contact to the inside of you. So it is eating you from the inside and out.
Well, this is very unfortunate. Pardon me, Miss Valentine, and I'm going to start walking over to them.
What are you doing?
Correcting the situation. And can I kneel down and touch both of them without coming in contact with the thread? Sorry, Tyler.
What was the question? I apologize.
Can I kneel down and touch both of them without coming in contact with the thread?
Yes.
All right, I would like to do so. If the thread starts moving toward me in any way, I'm going to back up immediately.
Well, lucky for you, it's fairly involved in what it's doing.
Okay. I'm going to make a roll. First, I'm going to rouse the blood, which is successful. I'm going to add a die to my roll. Actually, I'm going to add 2 dice to my roll.
Yeah, 2 because of the companion, yeah.
Well, I also have higher blood potency.
Well, then please reference the companion to make sure you add the...
Still 2. Still 2.
Still 2?
No, it's 3.
There you go.
6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 success for flesh crafting.
I would say that is enough. Audience, during break, we had a discussion about how flesh crafting might be used, and the way it's worded, we were trying to figure out if it can be used on 2 subjects at once. My feeling was that it would have to be a fairly good roll, and I would say that 7 is regarded as a very good roll.
It's also a critical success.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you can definitely assist both of your crew members at the same time.
I would like to fleshcraft every ounce of their body that it is currently being touched by the thread away from it by redistributing their mass. So I believe it is wrapped around Quinn's hand and probably lower forearm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to fleshcraft it so he no longer has a hand and or arm below the elbow, and just flesh that into his body.
I sort of visualize that, and I'm going to describe my visualization, 1 for the audience, 2 to make sure that I am understanding correctly what is happening. But the sort of skin, muscle, bone, sinew, the physicality that is Quinn's left hand and lower arm sort of pull back into the rest of his body as the mass redistributes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't suddenly vanish.
Correct. It redistributes it from one part of his body to another, so it's basically just like bulking up. I'm spreading the mass through the rest of his body, but I can only do it to him, so it would leave this entity behind.
I'm going to say that yes, the mass begins to redistribute. However, because of the tackiness of the creature, it can't follow the entire mass, but the skin is still being pulled back towards the rest of Quinn. So it stays sort of attached to that.
Then I will leave
bit
the
of
skin
skin.
behind.
That's very creative. Yeah, I love that idea. I think it's very creative. As you sort of notice it not pulling away as you expected, you simply solve the problem. I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to attempt to solve that problem with Ara's face.
Quite simply, she doesn't need it. So I will be flesh crafting every bit of matter from her head down into her torso. And when I run into the same problem with that, I am going to leave any of the outer bits behind that are not necessary and reform them on her chest.
I look at Lucy while this is happening and say, and people wonder why I don't like being touched.
This is absolutely disgusting.
Pardon me, I am working. If you could leave me in silence. And I finish. And once I am done, I will step away and I will say, my apologies, Mr. Adler, for touching you. I felt it was necessary in the situation.
It's okay.
That takes a full turn.
Great.
Yep.
Does Aris have a head or a face, or is she just...
No, she does not. She doesn't have a head.
Face titties now.
More, assuming it was wrapped around your upper, like your face and head. Yeah, that's your eyes and mouth are like right here.
Oh, hi. Yeah, this is if you joined us over the break, this is a horror channel. We're dealing with some body horror.
I dropped the content warning in chat.
Yep. Okay, great. I love
I
it.
want to know I asked their consent to do this to them
Yes,
before we
this
came
was
back.
this was discussed during break. There was consent and discussion, as I would suggest anyone who considers doing flesh crafting to another PC has that discussion.
Also, that was excruciatingly painful, but you didn't take any damage from it.
Yep. Okay. So now the blob is kind of feeling its way around the bits of flesh that have been left the skin. Upon realizing that it finishes sort of draining whatever is left in the skin and removes itself from it and sort of starts...
Storyteller, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
With the 7 critical success I had, could I actually reform Ara's head? It would take another full turn.
Yes, I would say that with the critical success, you can do that without needing to make another roll, but it will take the turn.
I will do so then. Quinn doesn't have a hand, though.
Okay. All right. I think Quinn's probably okay with that, all things considered.
The only thing he says is, I'm hungry.
Yes, you mentioned it was feeding off you, I say while I'm reforming Ara's head. Please, describe the sensation to me.
Hunger?
And I turn on the voice recorder with my other hand that's not touching Ara.
It was tingly.
As that's all happening, and you're presumably watching this magnificent display of flesh crafting,
Lucy is not watching it.
and Lucy, what are you doing?
Lucy's watching the things on the thread to see what they're doing from a very careful distance.
Then what you see is sort of like a splayed hand moving along the floor. It sort of flattens itself out a bit around where those bits of skin were and sort of starts feeling around to see if it can find where its meal went. Presumably, everyone has moved away from the thread at this point.
This is the point in
I
the
have.
movie, looking at Lucy, when normally they burn it.
I believe you were referring to the film The Thing.
That's one of them, yes.
Excellent movie. I quite enjoyed it.
Yes. Yes, we should destroy it somehow. Lucy is very much trying to look like she is not panicking at this, at what started to happen, and is going to try to look around. You said we're in like a commissary?
You're currently in the hallway.
In the
You
hallway,
were looking at the thread that was going from the commissary to the med bay, and there's still like that the sort of questing that's happening in the hallway, but the thread is still in the commissary. And as you watch the sort of questing, as it doesn't find anything, you sort of see the mass of it, which of course is larger now that it's fed, starts to sort of move along that thread into the commissary.
Lucy is going to head towards the med bay, making a kind of educated guess to see if there's any tools that would be used for cauterization that could burn this thing.
Once I am finished reshaping R's head. There. Good as new. I just turn and start walking off towards the med bay again. Sidestepping around.
All right. Lucy, you reach the med bay, but this isn't really your field of expertise.
No.
So what do you do?
She searches anyway because she's starting to feel, she would never admit it, she's starting to feel a little inferior. And she needs to nip that in the bud right now.
Okay. So let's see. There would be tools that could do something along those lines. But I honestly, as in real life, am not sure if any of them are medical. Yeah, Norman, what do you think?
So Norman would, while Lucy starts going through the med bay, Norman would walk up to the door and be like, "Can I help you find anything?"
Cauterization tools to burn whatever that was.
Oh, there's a variety of things we could use for that. However, I'm not sure that will work. I would like to get a better examination of what we're dealing with first. And I will walk over to the cabinet that contains anything that creates fire, because I would have that locked up. I would have asked them to lock that up specifically, and I will make sure it's locked.
Lucy's going to turn to Norman and, activating awe, says, "I really think that we should destroy this thing while we have the chance."
What is the roll to resist?
It is... Oh, sorry, I should have had that up ready to go.
Composure,
You roll
intelligence.
composure and intelligence, and then I'm rolling manipulation and presence. I'm going to do a... blood surge to add 2 dice. Hey, that's a success. Two, three, four.
Norman, were you able to resist?
I haven't rolled my dice yet.
I put
Oh, I
my,
apologize.
Sorry.
yeah, I put my result in chat.
That's
was,
impressive.
Wow, all those dice.
Oh,
All
no.
those dice and 3 successes.
I have a 6 critical.
Yeah, Norman is not impressed.
Just stares at you with the same dead eyes that he's had the entire time.
This definitely does not help you feel superior, Lucy.
No.
While I concur with your assessment, I do believe we need to better understand what we're dealing with in order to do it as efficiently as possible.
Lucy stares at Norman for a silent, furious moment before just a small smile like etches her face and says, "Fine. You are the biologist after all."
Now, earlier you mentioned that the threat appeared to be heading toward the med bay. Or
Earlier,
from
yes. When you guys came down from your earlier examination, the thread, like it looked like there were probably 2 forms of mass in either location. The thread was connecting them.
I would like to investigate the area and see if anything has been altered since my earlier check in here.
Please make a wits awareness roll.
May I change that roll to the one I
Yes,
asked earlier?
you may make a composure and awareness.
Yes.
I believe it was.
Yes, it was. Thank you. That would be 1, 2, 4 success.
It's not really something that you see, but you have a suspicion. And remember where you stored the vitae earlier?
Mhm.
You go over and you check that freezer.
Yeah, so Lucy would watch me walk over, make sure my back was in between her and the keypad, punch in a code, and open a freezer, basically like a portable freezer box.
Can I try to make a roll to see if I'm able to catch the numbers?
Oh, sure. Give me.
It's probably going to be difficult, but
Give me a wits and insight, please.
okay.
Is there anything you want me to roll?
To try to stop her, I'm trying to decide if I should make you roll a mental stat or a physical stat. Let's go with wits and athletics.
Argument, wits and
Yeah.
subterfuge.
I would accept that.
Awesome.
Especially given your proficiency. Okay, Lucy, I'm sorry. Once again, Norman is not impressed.
Norman
He
is rising up on
manages-
Lucy's enemies list.
He sort of shifts his body enough, having known you for a brief while, and does not let you get a clear look at those numbers. But I'm not sure how much it matters because, Norman, when you look, those bags are empty. Like, you know, when you squeeze everything out of a Capri Sun, they're just sort of, they're gone dry.
Curious. The container that they were in is essentially like the freezer unit that trucks have, transportation trucks for cold goods. So it's below 0 in there.
Yes.
Is any of the residue or any of that entity frozen in it or left behind? Was it affected by the cold?
Yes. There is a small sort of rind of it around the back of the freezer. So the bit that would have been in there longest as it was drinking that juice.
I scoop some of that into a sample vial and seal it.
Perfect.
And then I turn and hold it up and say, "Ask and ye shall receive." It appears that, sadly, whatever that entity is has consumed the blood I gathered earlier for processing and examination. But because of the freezer box, I've managed to collect some.
Some of the creature?
Yes. And I will walk over and start performing medical procedures that I don't know what they're called to process and examine it in a safe environment.
Okay. We're going to say there's one of those
like
sort of weird, large
boxes with like the
boxes with the gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're in every sci-fi setting. And they probably are real somewhere. So yeah, you deposit your frozen flaky samples and start attempting to examine them in some manner. And I'm going to ask you to make an intelligence medicine roll, please. Yes. And while you're doing that, it's going to take you a little while.
Yeah. I'm going to be involved.
Quinn, Ara, what are you guys doing? And Quinn, you are still down a hand.
I wander in halfway through whatever they're doing. And I'm like, did anyone check to see if they ate the regular blood?
That is an excellent question. Someone should go document that. Yes. I say mid-work.
Can do.
Lucy is gonna take off at that. But she is not. Sorry.
No, go on.
She's not going towards the regular stash of blood. She's going to check her stash. Her secret stash.
That special preferred vintage that you have that Wentz assures you would not need, but had it set aside for you just in case.
Yes, that is what she is more concerned about in this moment.
Yes. All right. So that's where Lucy's running off to. Ara,
I'm going to go check on our blood. Not the drink, the one that was already drunk, the freeze dried.
The stuff that your provisions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's always a smart idea in the alien invasion movie when the crew separates. I feel really good about this.
Yep.
This is totally fine. Everything is fine.
Everything is normal.
Everything is normal. All right. So Norman, that's a good amount of successes.
I rolled 6 critical.
Yeah, you rolled 6 critical. You're doing pretty well tonight.
Still being at 0 hunger helps.
Yeah, it does. What are you? Is there anything specific you're hoping to learn?
I have a list, so if you want to come back to me, we can do that. I'll type it in chat.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please do that, and I'll answer them as I can. So we're going to deal with Ara first because the commissary is closer than where Lucy's going. Ara, you get to the commissary and you no longer see that thread of blob in the hallway. Whatever it is, you're presuming it's all in the commissary, and even if it's not, something was in there, so it would be smart to check. You enter, and you don't need a roll for this because it's massive at this point. It is large. It is completely wrapped around the unit where your provisions are stored. And it looks like it's continuing to bulk. what do you do?
Okay. Can you explain to me what I just saw again? So I can...
It's feeding. It is
Ah.
like you can't see how it is specifically feeding on your provisions, but you can see it wrapped around the what you know is holding it.
Okay. So I quickly turn to leave and I make my way towards is there like a storage unit, something that has supplies, potentially weapons?
I'm going to say there are weapons. You would find some. This is an exploratory mission, but it is a great way to test out these sort of more theoretical items inspired by some different sci-fi content that you just can't really. Okay, I'm going to look at those questions in a minute. That you just can't really market to the military on Earth because they look ridiculous. So knowing your way around the ship from the schematics, you make your way back up to the storage unit where you know those items are stored, and you go, and it looks like there's some kind of combination lock on it, like one of those keypads.
While I'm making my way there, I use that handheld device to inform everyone of what I just saw. And I'm trying to
You do also
tinker-
have the comms.
the what?
Like you have a comm system that you can.
Okay. So I let them know what's going on, and I'm tinkering with that lock to see if I can get it unlocked.
It's like a keypad system. So you can enter stuff at random. Are you attempting to use your knowledge to? Yes.
Yes.
All right, then I would like you to make a intelligence and technology roll, or wits and technology, because you're trying to solve the problem.
Okay, I'm going to burn a willpower. Okay, that is a 9 with 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 the die is a critical success.
You figure it out. You have experience doing this sort of thing, and it's almost as though you knew it all along. So someone told you. You get that open, and as I described, they look like they're out of sci-fi movies. Like whoever designed these things was told to get creative. And you see the Wentz Industries logo on all of them. And you could probably guess they're all prototypes.
Is there a duffel bag or anything in the room?
I'll say that yes, not in the specific area where the weapons cache is, but you can find something pretty easily.
Okay, so I take it and I load it up and I try to make my way to where someone is to distribute.
I have a question. Does your character have experience with firearms?
Yes.
Okay. Then okay, you have 1 dot in firearms. I'm gonna say that you managed to grab what looks like you will be able to use it safely.
Okay.
What do you do once you have those items?
Oh, I'm making my way out so I can distribute them to everyone else.
All right. I want to check back in with Lucy because she was booking it to where she knows her private stash is, and that's in her quarters.
Yes.
Because Wentz knows that you have the wherewithal to not use it unless you have to, but he doesn't need everyone to know how special you are.
No, of course not.
No. So you enter your private quarters, and you don't need a roll to see it because it is large and it is wrapped around that container, and you see its bulk continue to grow, and it is somehow consuming your private stash.
Lucy is, with no one around to see her, she is vibrating. She is furious.
Yeah. I am curious about something, and
Sure.
I would it be appropriate at this moment for me to ask Lucy to make a frenzy check? Because at this point, she feels fairly inferior to the members of this crew and has just been thwarted and knows that her failsafe is gone.
Sure. Pretend that I haven't played a ton of Vampire and I've never had to make a frenzy check before. How would I do that?
I've made a few of them, but I've never had to tell someone how to do it.
So quick rules is it's going to be your unspent willpower plus 1/3 of your humanity. So if you have a humanity of 7, it's 2 dice. 6, 2 dice. But yeah. And
Okay.
you do not include hunger dice.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's a lot of dice.
They made it pretty easy.
3 successes.
Is there a specific number required for success? I don't think so.
It depends on what the frenzy check is for.
Oh, I see.
What is the okay?
I'm gonna go with harassment. Oh, public I'm gonna go with harassment. And the difficulty for that is 4. So what was your, how many did you make? You made 3?
Yeah, 3.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Lucy, but this is just that last little bit, and it throws you off, and you frenzy. You feel your beast claw its way to the surface, and it doesn't matter how proper or how controlled you are most of the time, because your hunger is present. And you know what? That thing that is ruining your mission and ruining your night, your beast can't help but notice it smells goddamn amazing.
Sinks her teeth into it.
Yeah. You can't help yourself. You're trying to bite it, hurt it, stop it from doing what it's doing instinctually. But what you feel, it's like glue is being poured down your throat and pressing itself over your face. And you begin to feel the vitae leave through the pores of your skin, and you feel it work its way up your nose and your nasal cavity and down your throat like a glopping mass, just slowly working its way down your esophagus and into your those organs left over from when you were alive. They don't do a whole lot now, but they're there.
Mhm.
And you begin to feel it drink from you inside and out, and it just makes you madder. So I would like you to gain a point of hunger, please.
Okay.
This happened.
And I don't think you told anyone where you were going.
No,
Nope.
absolutely not. And there probably aren't cameras in the private quarters.
Not in yours.
Sure, that makes sense. It's fine. I'm not worried about it.
Not right now.
Head empty, no thoughts, only blood.
Only delicious blood that is somehow drinking you back.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So that's happening down there. A deck below where most of you are. Ara is making her way back down to distribute weapons. Norman, let me look at your.
I can read it out loud. That was mostly for my reference. So
Yes, please.
first things first, I would like to, once it's in a warmer environment, see how it starts reacting. Feed it some blood, not mine, if I'm able to, and observe it, and make my observations there. And then, in order, tests. Identify if this is a carbon-based life form or not. Identify if it is alive versus undead, such as a vampire. Identify if it is similar to kindred physiology as it feeds off of our vitae, or if it is more like a vegetable or mineral or some other unknown creature. I would like to identify the chemical makeup of it, so see what it is, like just what it makes it up, which will take some time. And then attempt to render it inert, kill it by whatever means I'm able to. And then test if it's susceptible to cold, I already know, but fire, UV light, holy water, which I brought some with me, acid, anything that I think could damage it or destroy it.
All right. I will answer the first two questions because those are fairly simple tests. And then the others will be a matter of how much time you spend and how you attempt to determine if it is alive or undead.
Okay.
So you have the sort of frozen flakes, and are you feeding it vitae or are you feeding it human blood? And where are you getting this from?
Is there any more blood or vitae in the med lab that it didn't get drink already?
No.
Who's near me?
I believe Quinn is.
Yep.
Pardon me, Mr. Adler. Would you be so kind as to grab a syringe off that table and get a very small amount of your vitae?
Sure. I take the needle and look at it. Look at you. I've only got one hand. I figure it out.
Yeah, just from the stump.
That's what happens.
Sorry.
Yep.
And then if you would be so kind as to place it on top of the container here.
I put the needle on top of the big box.
And then once he has stepped away again, I will reach up and pick it up. And then I will, you know how they have those things where it's like a drawer and you can like put stuff in it and then open it and then grab it from the inside with the glove. I do that.
All right. And you inject some of the vitae onto the frozen flakes.
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah, I just wanted a small amount from him, so.
Okay. First thing that happens is it looks like it unthaws
Mhm.
at the contact. You're not sure if it's from the warmth. Of course, kindred aren't like warm-blooded necessarily, but you're warmer than frozen blood.
Right.
Or if it just woke up because there was a food source. But you very quickly watch it sort of reglom, pull itself back together. That's a term now.
Yep.
Pull itself back together and sort of consume, slurp up the new blood. It doesn't. The image I have in my head is a vacuum.
Kind of
Really.
sucks it in and absorbs it.
Yep.
Assimilates.
Assimilates, precisely.
Wonderful. Okay.
And once it does that, it bulks up a little bit.
Fascinating.
Is it carbon based? Yes.
Okay. Is it alive or undead? Basic temperature readings, anything of that nature. I don't know. I had a bunch of successes, so I don't know exactly how I would do that, but I had 6 critical.
I'm gonna look at your character sheet. You have Sense the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how that's worded.
So that would give me whether it intends harm, if it's hostile, what its nature is, if it's hungry, and if it's like a supernatural being or not.
I would suggest attempting to use that.
I can do that. I've got dots. That is 3 success.
Yeah, that's enough. It can't resist you. It's essentially a small portion of slug that's been separated from its main mass.
Okay.
It is something not quite a vampire. It doesn't have an awareness like you do.
Okay.
It is supernatural in that it is supernatural in its similarity to you. It is vampiric in its nature in some way. However, that's that. I'll end that thought there.
Okay. Okay.
But as far as hunger and hostility go, that's all this is. That all it is hunger. It is as though your hunger was somehow congealed into a thing. It in of itself is not hostile, but you believe it would react vehemently to hostility.
Interesting. I'm kind of speaking out loud. Just kind of making notes. I was like, almost as if it's our supernatural hunger manifest. If anyone is still around listening to me, I don't care. Continuing on, I would have kept some of the inert version of it for chemical testing, which I would have to separate and run it through a centrifuge and a whole bunch of stuff for. The last questions are if I can kill it. Can I do damage to it? Can I do harm? I've got a bunch of different things I can try, so I just
That's
testing.
Gonna take a lot of time.
Yep. Unless someone interrupts me, I don't got anything better to do. Yep.
Okay. Then I'm gonna ask Quinn what you're doing while this is going on.
I'm hovering around watching him for like a solid 30 minutes before I'm like, where's Lucy?
Yep. Norman, you're still going. because these tests take time, and you're taking very careful notes while you go
For science.
for science. So Quinn, what do you do when you notice Lucy is not there?
I just say it out loud to Norman.
Oh, I don't react.
It's weird. Try to communicate, use the comms.
Lucy, unfortunately, you're not in any frame of mind to respond. Or
Use the
activate
cameras,
your.
can't find her.
No.
That's weird.
It's
I
been long
assume at this
enough.
point that Ara would have heard me calling out on the comms too, probably.
Yep. And Lucy, it's been long enough at this point that I want you to take one more point of hunger, just sort of off scene.
That's fair.
Yep. Can someone double frenzy?
No.
No. Okay.
You can go to 5 hunger and start losing humanity and doing terrible, terrible things.
We'll deal with that when we get there. Let me know when you reach 5 hunger.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I reach 4 hunger, because fun things will start happening then too.
Great. Ara, what are you doing?
to Norman and Quinn yet.
You would have made it to the med bay
Oh.
where you last saw them. Are you all right?
We broke Ara.
Our stash is gone. And then I'm holding a gun. I toss a weapon to Quinn and Norman, and I ask, "Where's Lucy?"
Can't find her on the cameras, not answering the comms. It probably ate her.
We have to find her.
Are you put a gun down by me?
Yeah.
I just go back to what I'm doing. I'm currently pouring acid on this thing, seeing if it kills it.
It does not care about the acid. It just kind of sucks it up and belches it back out.
Holy water next.
It does the same. It's not that type of supernatural.
We don't know until we try.
This is true. It's good data. All right, Aria, what do you do?
While I'm like walking to the cabinet to get the holy water out, I like start paying attention to my surroundings. I'm like, oh, is someone missing?
Yeah, Lucy's gone.
Oh,
Lucy, for the sake of drama, take another point of hunger.
Okay, I'm at 4 hunger.
how unfortunate.
Just so you know, because this might affect things, Lucy does have stigmata.
Can you read that text for me?
Yeah, when you reach 4 hunger, you begin to bleed from open wounds on your hands, feet, and forehead. This attracts attention, leaves traces, and may penalize some dice pulls at the storyteller's discretion.
This thing is so happy. It finished it like it's finished draining your private stash at this point, and you're not aware of it, but I'll describe it for posterity. It has finished draining your private stash of redhead blood and sort of gloms its way onto you, and you're biting and gnashing and trying to tear at it, and it does not care. It just sort of smooths its way over you, wrapping itself completely around any of your exposed skin. And as it does, it also manages to slip into the collar of your shirt. You are essentially swaddled in an alien entity that is drinking you. And it's also working its way into those open cuts. It's in your gut. It's in your organs. You are being turned into a raisin.
Okay, at this point, I would like to spend a point of willpower to take control.
Better late than never.
And realize, I could have done it earlier. I didn't want to. I wanted to ride the horror for a moment. But at this point, I'll spend a point of willpower to I'm not sure how much I can do exactly, but I want to try to like realize what is happening and like come to her senses for just long enough to break out of this and get out of the room.
Yeah, you are aware of what's happening to you now.
Mhm.
What do you do about it?
She's gonna try to break free.
How?
I don't know. I guess struggle.
I'm
I don't.
looking at your
I will. Yeah, I
I'm
don't have
looking
any
at your sheet to figure out
disciplines.
if there's something I can suggest to help you.
Disciplines. They're not going to help. I don't really have any physical disciplines. I'm not really good at like brawling or melee. I guess like trying to like punch at it, trying to like or
It's wrapped around you.
like get her
it's-
nails into it to try to like rip it.
Let me better describe. At this point, it
Yeah.
is like a second skin,
Okay, that's not going to happen.
and you can't see either because it's drinking from your eyes.
Oh no. Okay, then Lucy just screams.
Do we hear that?
It's down her throat. No, it's
Okay.
rather muffled.
Yep.
Amazing.
Can she activate her comm?
You have awareness of
Uh-huh.
yourself. You know where the comm is on your person. I'm going to say you can attempt to smack that part of your chest and turn on comms. I cannot guarantee you will be able to make any intelligible noise.
That's fair. She's going to try to say private quarters or my room. My room's probably easier. As loud and as clear as she possibly can before the frenzy overtakes her again.
I'm going to let you get something out.
Okay.
And to see how clear it is, I want you to roll composure and
Resolve.
resolve. Sure, I was going to say resolve or craft.
Okay.
Performance.
Sorry, composure and what else? Resolve?
Resolve.
Okay. Composure and okay, that's
Not a bad dice.
Let me
pool.
get all my hunger dice.
Oh, right. It's mostly hunger dice now.
And then the other dice, I am going to. No, I'm not going to rouse the blood because I just get 5 hunger, and that's probably going to happen anyway. I'll just roll. Let's see how this goes. Okay, it's not terrible. 2 successes.
You managed to get out one word. What is it?
Room.
Norman, Ara, Quinn, you all hear a rather muffled Lucy say the word room.
Is this a good time to have a premonition?
Probably.
Okay.
Before you jump into that, if I may.
Yes.
Miss Ara, are you able to access the fire extinguishing system in the ship?
But she's getting increasingly annoyed at this point. She's like, yes.
Can you please turn it on in the private quarters of Miss Valentine?
Fine. Do I have access to that?
Yes.
Okay, I do that. Do I need to roll for that?
No.
Okay, so I go on the handheld device and I put that that code in, and I put in an extra code.
What is it?
Can I private message you that?
You may, please.
Okay.
I love secrets.
Squint.
Yeah. Uh, we're having a very dramatic private discussion.
As you do. As you do.
Yeah. Okay. So Ara's making those decisions right now. And Quinn, what are you doing?
Having a premonition,
Yeah. Do that.
not
for me,
necessarily
please.
just of Lucy, but what's going to happen in an hour.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. 4 successes on the resolve plus aspects roll.
Because there's only 4 kindred here, I'm going to say it's more precise than it normally would be around so many other individuals. And what you see is multiple blobs of this creature sort of moving around the ship, and it's very dramatic. It's like a cinematic sort of swooping of a camera, seeing these blobs in different portions of the ship, and you see sort of zooming into Lucy's quarters, it wrapped around her, and she is smaller than you remember her being. And your premonition ends.
The things are everywhere and they're eating Lucy.
I look over at Norman to see what he has to say, because I did the thing that he wanted me to do.
Okay. So I'm running off the assumption that the fire extinguishing system in the ship is a chemical agent, like in like restaurants and things like that, which is extremely cold. And the only knowledge I have on this so far, because I haven't had a chance to test fire on it, is that freezing it does affect it. So freeze it. So if you set off the fire extinguisher system in Lucy's private quarters,
So I page Lucy to see if she says anything, or see if I hear anything.
You hear a very disturbing slurping sound.
And does Lucy respond at all?
Nope.
And
Because
all
now
I
she's
hear-
at 5 hunger.
So I look to Norman and I say, I think we lost Lucy. And so basically this thing just feeds on us and there's no way to kill it.
well, I haven't tried this yet, and I'm gonna walk over and get a torch.
Okay.
And I'm going to put the torch inside the container with the gloves, and I'm going to hit it with fire.
It reacts very strongly. It attempts to throw itself at the glass away from the flame. You're going to have to chase it around the container with the torch if you want to actually see what happens when you burn it. I'm not going to make you roll because it is contained. It's just a matter of time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you catch it. It can't make a sound because it's a proto-vampiric space slug. But it does sort of I'm trying to imagine what happened when blood burns. I'm going to say it boils, essentially. It boils into a disturbing red mist. And so you watch that happen, and then there's just this kind of really creepy red condensation on the inside of the container.
Oh, I burned that too.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I just whatever is like not charred gets burned.
Yep.
Well, it would appear that fire successfully extinguishes this entity's existence. So, if we have any access to that in a way that will not cause us to react in fear, I would suggest we deploy it.
Did we actually set the fire extinguisher system off yet?
Yes, and it didn't seem to do anything.
Oh, did we do that? I'm sorry.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we set the fire extinguisher system off in Lucy's quarters.
Ben said make the sound?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't
The
know.
sound of this thing dying when it was burned.
It doesn't make a sound. It's a space
No, I think he was
That's why he
talking
wants the
about.
sound.
I think he was talking about when it was drinking Lucy dry.
Oh.
Wow.
Wonderful.
There you go. If that's not what he wanted, he'll tell me later. Anyway. So Lucy is at 5 hunger. The fire extinguisher goes on in her room, and it's like one of those nozzles in the center of the room. And it comes down the sort of chemical spray, and it coagulates around your new second skin that's slowly eating you. And it does freeze around you, but you're frenzying. I need to look up torpor rules, I guess. Yep. This is happening now. Okay. I'm going to say you enter torpor at this point because you're out of blood. You frenzied twice. You don't have a whole lot left to go on here. So you're a raisin. And it stopped eating you, which is good. And it's essentially inert around you. But at this point in time, you are in torpor.
Okay, that makes sense. I have nothing to argue with that. So yeah.
I'm glad that you're okay with this. Yep. All right. So you guys have no way of knowing that, though.
Nope.
So what do you do?
Well, as I said to them, fire will destroy it. If I may be so bold as to make a suggestion, I recommend that we set off the fire extinguishers in every facility in this ship, except for this room, in order to hopefully hamper its movement. And then if we have any way of lighting it on fire, we do so.
If only you hadn't lost that welding torch. Though I'm sure there's more.
Even if we do kill it, what are we supposed to do now? He drank our stash.
It is very unfortunate. We'll find a way to make do.
I look over at Quinn.
I look back. I shrug. I'm gonna go rig up a fire system.
How?
tell them I'll get to work on that while they do whatever they're going to do.
Great. I'll let you decide how you're going to do that. Ben, I'm still waiting for you to tell me what sound
That
you
was
were
the sound.
hoping for.
That was
That
the
was
sound.
the
Yeah, that
sound.
was it.
He said it
Okay,
in chat.
great. Thank you. Because he had private messaged me, and I was like,
He said message to all of us. So it was
what
like, how do I make the
sound?
sound? He just
Um,
wanted you to make a slurping sound.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad I could oblige. All right, so Quinn is wandering off on his own to make some kind of torch device. Ara, Norman, what are you doing?
Well, I had recommended that we set off all the fire extinguishers across the entire ship, except for in the med bay, since we're in here, in order to freeze everything.
And I do it.
You can definitely do it.
And I say to Nora, you don't seem too worried or beat up about this.
Why would I be?
I see.
We came here knowing that something might happen to us, and we may not return. Simply logical that we run into an incident of some kind. This creature is very fascinating. It's a shame we have to destroy it, but unfortunately, I don't believe that we can get any further examination done of it, other than the small piece that I have testing for chemical compounds right now.
Are there any windows where she is?
Or who is?
Where Ara is, where my character is.
No.
Okay. Okay. So she just kind of leans back and just observes Norman.
Did we set off the fire extinguishers across the entire ship?
Yes, you have set off the fire extinguisher across the entire ship. You did that after Quinn left the med bay, so Quinn is doused, but it's meh. You're already down a hand.
Yep.
This doesn't really make much of a difference. And do you attempt to determine in some way the effect of this, or do you just assume it worked?
I am going to go collect another one of the small torches that I used to burn the thing, because I don't want to open that case up and take anything out of it once I put it in it. And then I'm also going to get a suit out of one of the cupboards, which hazmat suit, and start putting it on.
All right, you do so.
I believe it is time to go see if the fire extinguishers had any effect on the creature and eliminate it if we are able to.
Okay, I'll make my way out of the room.
I put a full hazmat suit on right in front of you. I'm like, pick up the torch, start walking out. Do you happen to know where Miss Valentine's personal quarters were?
Do I know that, or would I need to make a roll for that?
You both know the layout of the ship. You would at least know where the private quarters are located, even if you weren't 100% certain where Lucy's which one was Lucy's.
Okay, so I make my way down.
Follow.
Yeah, and as you guys move through the ship, you do see numerous blobs of various sizes, essentially frozen, with this coagulated material around them. So those would be some great samples, Norman. Yeah.
I collect another sample.
Cool.
And I leave them because my torch is for smaller ones. Those it could potentially just thaw them rather than kill them. So I will leave those to whatever Mr. Adler is cooking up.
Makes sense to me.
They're frozen. Not worried about it.
All right.
Just follow Ara to Lucy's quarters.
And when you arrive, or before I describe that, Quinn, are you ready to describe what you were doing?
Yeah,
Please.
I rig the fire containment system as described to you separately
Mhm.
with whatever rolls you think are necessary. Then
Let me message you.
okay. Okay.
Understood?
Yeah.
If you feel a need to send private messages to anyone in the party, please do. And we can describe what happens as we need. While you're doing that, Norman, Ara, you enter Lucy's chambers, and you're met with essentially a kindred wrapped proto-vampiric popsicle. A sight few have ever seen, I'm sure. And not something Lucy ever wants to show up on social media. So, you know, blackmail material of one of the child or of one of the most powerful vampires on the planet. You know, just a thought.
I take a photo. I have to document it for the research. Click camera away.
Okay.
Well,
What do you do?
This is very unfortunate. Again, this seems like a lot of the entity. We should probably leave this for Mr. Adler's efforts.
I turn around after saying what all this. I turn around and leave, and I get Quinn's message, and I head that way, and I put in a code in my handheld device.
Perfect.
I would turn and follow Ara.
Ara, you have Quinn following you. What do you do? Not Quinn, Norman following you. What do you do?
I activate unseen passage.
You can't activate unseen passage if I'm looking at you.
This is correct.
I just go on about my way then.
Can one of you tell me where you're going? I think I know.
The second part of what I sent you. We're both going to that.
Okay. So for our viewers, Norman, of course, has no idea where Quinn is. Quinn, can you please describe where you are?
Oh yeah. After I figure out that Ara already did what I was gonna do, I go retrieve the helmet because I never took my suit off, lock it into place, get the escape pod, and hit the button.
Yep.
Nope.
This is their version of Nuke It from Orbit. Yep.
Gonna kill it with fire.
So Ara, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm speed walking. I'm hightailing it
Okay.
to where Quinn is, because I'm guessing with my navigation and all the stuff I already have, I already know where he is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Cool.
I'm heading
Do
that
you
way.
guys want these to be individual escape pods spaceball style, or do you want them to be like a sort of a small cruiser?
Definitely Spaceballs.
Okay. So Quinn, you've loaded yourself in. Do you wait for Ara, or do you just hit your button and shoot off into space alone?
I just hit the button because I assume she's handling the rest, especially since she said she hit the button, so I'm assuming I can see the countdown.
Yeah. And you hear Mr. Wentz has obviously seen Spaceballs, because you hear a voice come over and essentially reenact that sequence of countdown.
Amazing.
And so Quinn, you shoot off and you're really alone. Like alone, alone. What do you do in your escape pod? You're not sure how far away from Earth or anything.
Gonna let its autopilot take it wherever.
All right. Do you remain conscious to enjoy being alone? Do you enter torpor? What do you do?
I remain conscious until torpor is forced upon him, sure, however long that takes.
I'm sure it's I'm assuming it's one of the best periods of your life when
Yes.
you are actually really alone. And Ara, Norman, please describe to me what your characters do. Lucy, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Once I realize what's happening, because we probably I hear the
You
countdown,
hear the countdown.
and I probably hear the escape pod launch. I'm like,
it's
oh,
a noise, yeah.
oh, excellent. That is a good addendum to the plan. I agree, and I just follow Ara to the escape pods and.
Yep.
And I'm setting my coordinates back to Earth.
Once you enter torpor, just kind of like you wait.
I follow suit. And I will note that once I'm in the escape pod launches and it's heading back to Earth. I have that sample on me still.
So you succeeded where so many alien movies fail. You got out with a sample.
Succeed.
Success.
Success. It's all relative. But thank you for joining me on this intergalactic romp. You drift back through space, eventually make your way back to Earth. And I'll think about how long that takes. It doesn't really matter in this scenario.
Rip
for
Lucy.
you guys. Huh?
Rip Lucy.
Rip Lucy.
It's fine.
Wentz
Look,
will never know. Unless
I mean,
that
I
picture
took a
ends up on
photo.
social media.
look, I went into this knowing that Lucy was very likely to die.
All right. Thank all of you. I had a blast. This was my first time storytelling a vampire anything on stream. I enjoyed this. I'm really glad all of you played with me. And I want to give all of you a chance to go around and reintroduce yourselves and say where people can find you and all that good stuff and whatever Ian might want to say, as this is Gehenna.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about the character you were playing as we exit out. Why don't we start with poor dearly departed Lucy Valentine?
Sure. Hi. Sorry. I was reading the chat. I'm Zoe. I played Lucy Valentine, the Ventrue. She was great. I created a terrible person for terrible things to happen to, and it all went according to plan. And I loved every second of it. Sorry, it was absolutely wild. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Twilick43. I post a lot on there. You can also find me over on Carrying Comfort Studios, where some things are going to be happening soon that I don't think I can talk about yet, but it's going to be really cool. So you should keep an eye out on that. And that's me.
And Psychopomps Incorporated.
Single Moms Incorporated, right? I can talk about that now. Yeah, on we don't know exactly when it's going to be airing yet, right?
Martlet Games. We're
Yes,
not
it's on
in
Martlet Games.
Yes.
It's going to be great. You can go there now and watch session 0, where we talked about our characters a little bit. And that was a lot of fun. That aired today. And that's going to be coming to you soon on Martlet Games. It's really great. I also play kind of a terrible kindred on there, but not in a little different way. Just a little different.
And Ara.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kitty Kimchi, and I played your Nosferatu, Ara. And let's see, you can find me on Twitter at Yep, She's Blasian. And Wednesdays, you can also catch me in Tales of the Rookery, Toronto by Day. It's a changeling game for Vancouver by Night, where I'm playing Alette, your mischievous puka. And you can catch me on various things. I'm Karen Comfort, and I have some more things coming up. Just check my Twitter for updates.
And our Quinn Adler.
Hello, I am Tyler Eldridge Echoes on the internet, and I played Quinn Adler, the people-hating, lack of impulse control Malkavian. You can find me at Vorpal Tales Twitch channel doing all kinds of awesome stuff, and you can find me back here shortly for another cool one-shot with Ian, to be determined when.
Absolutely. And then I am Ian, otherwise known as Ravnos, founder of Gehenna Gaming. Tonight I was playing Norman, your perfectly normal, nothing absolutely wrong with him whatsoever. You should be very happy he didn't take his jumpsuit off. Zamisi, who had 0 emotions and was totally prepared to feed off of all of you and diablerize you if he had to in order to survive. Perfectly normal. He's perfectly fine. Not just a mess of teeth and disgustingness. Beyond that, we have a lot of cool stuff coming up on Gehenna Gaming. Monsterhearts 2 Gehenna Academy is returning for season 2 this Monday, so not tomorrow but the day after, where you can find our wonderful cast playing some new skins, led by Nick Francia, our head of kind of production and marketing for Gehenna Gaming, and that is going to be amazing. I'm very much looking forward to see what he does with season 2 of that show. We have a bunch of really cool one-shots coming up later in the week. This coming Wednesday, I will be playing Resident Evil 7 here on Gehenna Gaming, and next Saturday, Nick is running a one-shot of Deviants, so the Chronicles of Darkness game. And then, as Tyler mentioned, the Saturday after that, on the 25th, I will be running a one-shot for him and a bunch of other people here, and we will be running Solemn Veil, so don't miss that. Bunch of cool stuff coming up. I want to thank everyone who tuned in this evening and donated. We raised some money for our charity. I can't check the amount right now because the website's not working, but that's fine. And I want to thank Rosie for jumping in and storytelling this wonderful game for us. I had a lot of fun, so thank you so much. But yeah, you can find me here on Gehenna Gaming. You can find me on the internet at Gehenna Gaming, on Twitter and all the other social medias, or as at Ravnos on a bunch of different social media platforms. And you can also find me over on Sugar Axe, where I do some non-horror streaming with my partner Ellie, and we do a bunch of cool stuff over there. Unless there's anything else we want to talk about, I'm going to hand it back over to Rosie to if there's anything else you want to mention that you have coming up. But other than that, we are good to go.
Cool. I'm Rosie, regular size mom. You can find me on Twitter at mom_size to see what I'm up to, what I'm doing. You can find me every Thursday over on Vorpal Tales, where Tyler runs stuff and I roll dice. Last episode, my Bajoran looked into the face of her adoptive Cardassian father, and it was horrifying. And then you can also find me over on Martlet Games. It's Psychopops Incorporated. Keep an eye on that. That's going to be with me and Zoe. And also Dead and Glow, or Cat, member of the Carrying Comfort community. You can also find me in other stuff on Carrying Comfort Studios. Keep an eye on it. It'll be coming up in the next couple of months. And I'm really glad that you've joined us here tonight and that all of these wonderful players were interested in doing something kind of ridiculous. And that's what I got.
Thank you again for everyone. Don't make sure you like, subscribe, and obey. And we will be back very soon with a lot more horror gaming. Have a good night.